Warning: viewer discretion is advised, as I will be talking about and showing some of my previous injuries.
So out of the nearly 10 years I've been consistently working out now, I've had 5 injuries. 3 major ones, 2 minor ones, all 5 of which easily could have been prevented had I known these 5 things. So in today's video, I'm gonna talk about the 5 mistakes that got me injured so you can avoid getting injured and doing permanent damage to yourself. Let's get into it. I'm gonna go in chronological order about my injuries, but my first major injury happened roughly a year after I started working out, and it was actually a lower back injury from rounding on deadlifts. Now this is a very common injury you probably have heard of. What happened was, in a year, I made some pretty solid progress, and I've always seen around the gym people doing deadlifts. I thought it'd be cool to try, not because I thought it was gonna be a great movement for my posterior chain, but I wanted to start doing it because I wanted to lift heavy weight like other people. Instead of learning the form, I pretty much just rushed into progressing on deadlifts. I thought the form was pretty solid because I was able to make pretty consistent strength gains, and by the 4-month mark, I was probably deadlifting around like 275 pounds. So I thought, okay, my form must be pretty decent. Now after progressing on deadlifts for like 4 months at that point, I didn't really take the time to learn the intricate form necessary for a movement like the deadlift. And worse than that, I didn't know my form was bad or anything, because it's not like I'm recording myself. I didn't get like a third-party person to take a look. So I remember one day, just random one day, it was a perfectly normal day. At the time I would do squats, and then I would go into lunges, and then I would start deadlifting. I'm warming up for deadlifts. I was only using like 225 pounds, and when I come up, I immediately feel a sharp pain in my lower back, and instantly, I knew what was going on. And back then, I was pretty bummed, obviously. I was out for 2 months before I can return to doing lower back bearing exercises. But ultimately, I thought, okay, after 2 months, after I'm completely healed, it'll be fine. I'll be able to recover. And I did come back to training. However, my lower back was never the same. Until this day, I still get some sort of residual back pain on certain exercises, especially something like a deadlift or a barbell row. And the thing about injuries when you're young, you think it's just okay, I get injured, I'm gonna be out for a month, that's it. But you never know if that injury will have lasting impacts for the rest of your life. I guess the big moral here is that this could have easily been prevented if I took more time to not only learn the form, but record myself doing it, or have a third-party person that I trust actually take a look and see if my form is good. Okay, so second injury I had, and it's the first minor injury I had, was my right hip flexor my freshman year of college. At this point, I was roughly 2.5 years into training consistently, and as a freshman entering his first semester of college, I wanted to try out a bunch of things. So at the time, I was training legs every other day. I was running track club, sprint specifically. We would have 3 workouts per week. On top of that, I would do Muay Thai once per week. So after just 2 weeks of doing this, I started noticing some minor pain I would get in my right hip flexor. I couldn't really put my thumb on what was the cause because pretty much everything would aggravate it. I suspected that this had to have come from overuse, so I had to decide between working out, Muay Thai, or track club. First thing I cut was track club. So now we're down to training legs every other day and then doing that 1 Muay Thai workout per week. And at this point, I was already a month in, and I'm still getting this hip flexor pain, so I had no other choice but to also cut out Muay Thai. At the time, I didn't know much, right? But I honestly think I did the right thing. I was essentially following 3 different asynchronous workout routines that didn't allow my hip flexors to recover enough. In hindsight, I probably could have lowered the amount of lifting days. The big moral here is recovery is an extremely important thing. When you're young, you might think you can get away with pretty much anything, but I promise you, it will bite you in the butt if you don't prioritize.
So guys, let me take my pump cover off. So at this point, you've probably seen me wear AYBL in all my videos. And if you've been interested in getting some yourself, definitely check out AYBL's Summer SaIe, which is gonna be going live on July 29th, Monday at 2 p.m. EST. Now it's gonna be up to 60% off site-wide, plus you'll get an additional 10% off at checkout if you use code PATH. So if you've been holding off on getting AYBL gear and you're just waiting for a sale, now is definitely a good opportunity. There's only 3 of them across the year. So this is a big one. If you want to support my page, definitely use code PATH. It would be much appreciated while also helping you guys out. Back to the video.
Whew. Man, let me tell you, what other lateral raise variation are able to push that hard towards failure? and I was grinding on that rep. But anyways, the third injury I had, and my second major injury, my fitness career across the 9 years. This is a big one. This is when I broke my distal phalanx on my ring finger. I broke the tip of my finger, and the story is actually super stupid. The thing about this injury is this was a complete accident. It's the only like non-form related injury I've ever had in my lifting career, but how it went was back in 2019, I was warming up for dumbbell shoulder press. You know, I'm at the dumbbell rack, I grab my 55-pound dumbbells, do a couple reps, put them down, and I'm intending to put the weights back, but some chump put the 50-pound dumbbells in the 55-pound rack. So my intention was to drop my 55-pound dumbbells, take the 50s, put it in the 50s rack, and then grab the 55s, put it back on the 55 rack, right? But when I dropped the 55-pound dumbbell, what ended up happening was this bounced. I dropped it from like here, it bounced, my finger was under here, and then the dumbbell clipped my finger so that underneath the corner of the dumbbell rack. And it was a metal one, literally just like this one. I was at LA Fitness too. So basically it bounced, and then this happened, and my finger was broken. And instantly, finger started bleeding. I saw my nail was coming off. I'm like, okay, this is pretty bad. I'm gonna go home. I go home, I take a nap, and I wake up, and the tip of my finger is still throbbing, okay? The pain didn't really get better at all either. So I'm like, okay, at this point, I probably should go get it checked by a doctor. Fast forward, go to the doctors. They ordered an x-ray for me. I got the x-ray, and I shit you not, the tip of my finger right above the joint, the distal phalanx literally broke in half. And it was like this. I'll put a picture of what the x-ray looked like. So I had to get surgery, basically to realign the bone since it was here, back to here so it can actually heal properly, as well as get my nail bed repaired. And to this day, my nail kind of grows a little bit weird on my ring finger. So after I woke up from the surgery, I had this big cast on my finger, and it was kind of funny to me because just because I broke the tip of my finger, it rendered pretty much the entire right side of my body useless, at least for my pulling exercises, right? The recovery time in total was expected to be 2 months before I can actually use my right hand, but at the 6-week mark, I started using my right hand again because I got the cast removed and I had this one little other splint. And as a result of that, as you see here, my finger isn't straight. So I don't recommend rushing back into the gym after a big injury like this. So the moral of the story here is don't be reckless when you're handling weights. When you're in the gym, this is an overall pretty precarious place. A lot of things can go wrong, so just be aware, be careful, and don't drop your weights. Now the fourth injury I want to talk about is actually the latest injury I have, but I'm going to go a little bit out of order. This is the second minor injury I had, and that was a shoulder issue from bench pressing. Now, a lot of people, when they think of shoulder injuries on a bench press, they probably think of some sort of like rotator cuff issue resulting from benching with super flared elbows. But this was actually an ironic one because the cause of it was like meant to prevent an injury. It'll make sense when I explain this. So this all started with me wanting to increase my bench. Now, over the years, I built up a really bad habit of dive bombing on the bench press, but surprisingly, that wasn't how I got injured. It's what happened next. So as a way to avoid dive bombing and kind of train controlling the eccentric more often, I started pause rep bench pressing, which is essentially when you control the eccentric down and have the bar come to a dead stop before pressing back off. It's actually a really good exercise, and it's advantageous for hypertrophy because you're getting more exposure in that stretch position. Now, the thing with this is I eliminated one habit, which was dive bombing on the bench press, and replaced it with another bad habit, and that is I would take the pause rep bench press a little bit too literally, where I would have the bar come down and pretty much have it just lay entirely on my chest. So if I'm working with 185 pounds, there's basically gonna be 185 pounds just lying on my chest. And over time, what would happen is I would internally rotate my shoulder in this bottom stretch position, which caused another issue, not the rotator cuff, but with my AC joint. Now luckily, the moment I started noticing this pain, I completely stopped and reassessed what was going wrong. And it turns out this would have been prevented if I would simply, instead of just laying the bar on my chest, I would still maintain tension and just have the bar touch my chest while still actively holding in that position instead of just letting it come down, get a little split-second rest as the bar lay on my chest, and then press back up. And the moral for this injury is super simple. Actively control the weight throughout the entire range of motion of the movement. Woo! You might be wondering why I'm training calves on an upper body day. Well, you'll soon find out in a couple weeks. All right, so let's talk about number 5. This was definitely the worst injury I had. In fact, at one point in time, I was even thinking like,
will I ever be the same again? It's hard to give this one a title because PT even never gave me a clear answer, but I would describe it as pain in my left scapula that turned into nerve pain in my neck. So this happened in late 2020 as I was pretty much graduating from college a semester early. And it started with me feeling a burning yet sharp pain in my left scapula near my trap area when I would do Romanian deadlifts. Now this pain would go away the minute I stopped Romanian deadlifting, so it wasn't like a type of thing where I feel it and then it hurts for the entire day. No, it would only specifically hurt on my last few reps of Romanian deadlift. But over the course of 3 months, the pain would progress, right? It got increasingly painful, and I would get it on more exercises. So basically any exercise where I had a grip, so walking lunges, rear delt rows, RDLs, and then even chest supported rear delt rows. And eventually the pain got worse and worse. It would progress so that instead of feeling it on like the last 2 reps of my Romanian deadlift set, I'd feel it like 2 reps in. It became serious enough in my mind to give it a little bit of a rest. So I stopped Romanian deadlifting, I stopped doing chest supported rear delt rows, I stopped doing walking lunges. After roughly a month, the pain went away up to like 90%, right? So it was almost gone. And I decided to jump back into exactly what I was doing before. Same weight I was doing with chest supported rear delt rows, same weight Romanian deadlift, etc. And then as you can imagine, the pain came back, but it was even worse this time. Now, it was not only those 3 exercises that I felt it, but when I would retract my scapula on a bench press, as I set up, to engage the lats, I would also feel that burning sensation. So once again, I decided to give it a couple weeks, stop doing those 3 exercises that would give me pain, until eventually I wanted to make a TikTok with me bench press. And I knew it would require me to engage my lats, but I was like, you know what? Let me just do it for the video. It's just for 1 rep. And I remember instead of using like, 30-pound dumbbells or something relatively light, I went and got like the 70s. Like I got my working weight just to make the video look more engaging in my mind. And I remember coming back and going for the rep, and immediately I'm like, okay, this hurts, but I muscled through it. I got in 2 reps for whatever video I was making, and then re-racked the weights, and I'm like, okay, I regret doing that because now something's up. Now instead of only feeling the pain when I do certain exercises, the pain was just there. Like I knew I definitely injured something. So I remember as that day went on, it would hurt when I turned my head. So like the slightest little movement would cause like some sort of pain radiating from my scapula all the way up to my neck. And dude, I remember that night, like just laying back, you know how when you lay back to go to bed, to put your head on the pillow and you have to support the weight of your head with your neck as you lay back? That caused like a super sharp, intense pain, like a 9 out of 10 pain. So it took me like 5 minutes to just lay down in bed. You know how like over the course of the night, you might like readjust your head a little bit when, turn side to side, whatever it is. It would hurt if I just like even look a certain direction, try to readjust my head on the pillow. Like if I would lift my head up to readjust the pillow, turn my head, I just completely avoided doing that just because it hurts so bad. And I remember thinking to myself like, dude, Tyler, look at you. You work out for X amount of years, you build a physique of your dreams, but you can't even turn your head in bed right now. So that really marked the shift in my mind that, you know what, if I ever deal with an injury or anything ever again, I'm gonna take the conservative route and just completely rest and make sure I get 100% recovered. Because the moral of the story here is, in fact, just listen to your body, make sure you don't come back until you're 100% recovered. No, loss of gains or opportunity loss of not working out is worth you potentially giving your body like permanent damage. So I'm kind of saying this, I made this video as a reminder because I'm currently dealing with a little bit of like rear delt pain. But I hope this video was not only entertaining, but also helpful for y'all to avoid injuries. In my mind, if I could save just one person from getting an injury that would impact the rest of their life, my job here is done, right? But thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like to support my page, it would be much, much appreciated. Or use code PATH at AYBL to get 10% off, code TPATH at my protein to get upwards of 40 to 50% off. And if you're not yet subscribed, definitely do that, as well as hit the bell notification so you get these videos right as I post them. Good luck. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.